In this video we're going to go through the intercompany transactions in Business Central. This is generally used when you have group companies and the two are trading with each other and you need to send transactions from one to the other, or journals, but it doesn't necessarily have to be group companies. It's just as long as it's two different companies in your Business Central. So with intercompany transactions, it means raising sales invoices on company A and they will automatically turn up as purchase invoices in company B, or vice versa in terms of purchases to sales. You can also post part of an invoice over to another company, so something like shared costs. So a third-party vendor has sent something in and you need to share the cost between companies. You can do that too. We'll see that in a second. And also journal entries, raise a journal on one side and have it automatically come into the other company. So if we go into Business Central, here we are, we're in the company Wales, and we are going to raise a sales invoice. So I have my sales invoice created and I've got two different line types on here. I've got stock item and GL account, and they're going over to the company England, and behind the scenes it already knows that England is a company within the Business Central database, so all of that's been set up. Ordinarily you may have mapping to set up between the two systems before this gets going, so unless you're using exactly the same stock codes, which we are in this example, and exactly the same nominal codes, then you would have to provide mapping to say the stock code in Wales in this instance means this stock code in England, and so on. But that mapping would automatically come through to here, so you can see we're mapped out here. I've chosen the GL code here because the GL, the chart of accounts, might not necessarily be the same on the England side, so I can choose whichever code I want this to post to over the other side. And there we go, and from here all I need to do is post as normal, and that will then go through. So that is invoice 3025, and if I come over to England, you can see here I've got two browsers running in two different companies, so that answers another question: can I be logged into two companies at the same time? Yes, you can. There's the 2025 that we're just looking at, already in as a purchase invoice on the England side. You can set these up so they automatically come in, or you can set them to come up into a sort of a pending area and then import them in from there, so they go through sort of an authorization process on the other side. We'll see that in a moment when we post to a third-party vendor, but on this side, just to complete this transaction through, so it's here, it's come from Wales, it's the same two lines again, and I can continue and post into here, and so that transaction's in, no rekeying, no mistakes or anything along those lines, exactly the same information through. But if I raised an invoice from this side, so let's say something like a rent invoice has come in. So this is a third-party vendor, so we come into here, we'll choose whoever the landlords are. We'll come down into here and put these through to the rent codes. And the rent is £1,000 and 600 relates to England, but 400 relates to Wales. So we put it on in one single invoice with two lines. So we just have invoice reference up there. So that line relates to England, and then we come down and we choose the same codes, and we want 400 to relate to Wales. Now to get it over to Wales, what we need to do, we just need to set this line to say, okay, which intercompany partner is this going to? It's going to Wales. What is it? It's a GL account, and again we're looking back at that shared chart of accounts between the two, and we'll code that through and we just post as normal. In fact, let's just come in and post and do preview posting, which is a useful thing to see here. You have to see exactly where it is going to post. So what it will do, it'll post 1,000 through to rent and VAT, etc. But then, because it understands what the intercompany control is for Wales, it'll post that into the owed by Wales and also that into the rent. So we'll be left with the 600 that is payable by England. So we'll come through and we'll post it properly this time. So that's posted through, and that's 205. So if we go back into Wales, and you kind of think, well, will this automatically come through as a sales invoice on the Wales side? And the answer is no, because who's a sales invoice to? So it's going to actually come through as if it was a journal. So these are held within the intercompany inbox. So if I come into the intercompany inbox, we can see here there's our transaction and there's our reference, and we can see from the transaction what the details are. So that's going to post through to the intercompany code and post through into rent. So that's all fine. We can accept that, and that will then post through into the intercompany journal with no VAT on with that particular posting date. So that will just post through, and the journal will be raised, and then I can post the journal in this company in Wales. So again, no rekeying, just processing. So just to finish this off, let's say that rent transaction did actually turn out to be incorrect and we've got to move the money back via a journal. Then we can do that through intercompany general journals, and just as normal we would choose which GL code on the Wales side we want to take the money out of or put the money into, and then the balancing account type is just the choice of intercompany partner, choose who the partner is, and then what the reference is here, and that will be enough. So if we again preview the postings, that's what will happen on this side. The rent expense will go down and the amount owed by England will go up, and we can process and post that transaction through. Then on the England side, again in the intercompany inbox transactions we have the document there, and we can come in and accept that. Again, it's asking me which intercompany journal references to use, and we can get that posted through as well. And there's the transaction now waiting on the England side, which is just the reverse of what we put in on Wales. So you can see the intercompany functionality cuts down very much on the process and the time taken of having to rekey something, and obviously reduces the chances of anything being rekeyed incorrectly, because it's just a transaction that's going from one company into the other. Okay, thank you.